Alright, so we've had our Hell in a Cell pay-per-view coming from San Antonio, land of the Alamo Dome, the Spurs, Fiesta, Texas. Fun place. If you've never been there, I suggest you go. But anyway, Hell in a Cell. Rather lackluster pay-per-view. Really nothing much happened. Only one championship changed. But ultimately, all the other matches were just rather blah. One of the most blah pay-per-views ever. So we'll go through each one of these, and you'll see my thoughts on each one of them. So here we go. So first, we have during the kickoff show, which is turning to be more and more what I like to call the Booker T rambling, David Otunga, whatever else, say the same things over and over show for an hour while the seats are empty and then all of a sudden they're full. We have the Tag Team Championship match, SmackDown Tag Team Championships, between the New Day and Rusev Day. Getting kind of redundant. And the match itself wasn't too bad, but I'm starting to really feel sorry for Rusev because they pushed him so hard when he first came in. He was defeating everybody under the sun. You know, Big Show, Mark Henry, Jack Swagger, everybody. And then, of course, he goes against John Cena at WrestleMania, loses, and then since then he's been just kind of floundering. And then all of a sudden this whole Rusev Day pops up and he's over again, and the crowd really likes him. But for some reason, Creative just won't put him over. And here he is with a match with for the Tag Team Championship, which, in my opinion, he truly deserves some type of, belt. And in the end, they lose. And it was a halfway decent match. It wasn't too bad. Not too many mess ups here. But if I were to give it a rating, I'd give it a 3-star rating. It was a decent match. But come on. Let's give something to Rusev here. Maybe they'll do this again in the next pay-per-view. But it's just sad to see Rusev not get his just desserts, if you will. So, the first match of the pay-per-view, we have Randy Orton Jr. Versus Jeff Hardy. And, I mean, it was a halfway decent match. If I were to give it a rating, I'd give it 2 stars. These guys are in the Hell in a Cell beating the crap out of each other. Really nothing special. Pretty much them going through the motions that we've seen over the past few weeks. Of course, we have to have the extra special Randy Orton doing the ear thing. But, not just with his finger this time. He has to go and get a screwdriver and twist the earlobe, for the extra visual effect. My only response to that was I just hope nobody got stabbed accidentally with the thing. Because bringing a screwdriver into a wrestling ring could have some scary effects. But ultimately, like I said, they go at each other. And, Jeff Hardy, puts a few tables together and a few ladders together and climbs on the top of the Hell in a Cell. And not sure exactly what he was going for, but he ended up with a huge belly flop without Orton there to take it. And so, the referee wants to get medical attention. For some reason, referees are extra sensitive in this particular match, or this particular night in general. But before, he calls the EMTs, Randy Orton wants the pin count. And so the referee complies and gets the 3 count. Whatever. Then he calls the EMTs. It's like, okay. If you're really concerned about someone's health, the match would be over. But whatever. So Jeff Hardy's out. Randy Orton wins. But I have a feeling that Jeff Hardy's going to be out for a while. I've been hearing he's been dealing with some nagging injuries anyway, so they probably use this as a way to write him off for the next few weeks, if not months. So, moving on. Like I said, 2 stars at the most. So after that, we had for the SmackDown Women's Championship, we had Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. And I have to say, this has been a very strange ordeal here because I honestly, in my personal opinion, think WWE Creative tried to make Becky Lynch a heel, the bad guy, but the crowd loves her anyway. Um, the crowd's going for her. And no matter how much they try to have her do bad things and say bad things, the crowd's loving it. And I have to say, I'm loving it too. We like to see, people succeed, and then all of a sudden, Charlotte came in out of nowhere and, kind of took it from her. We can all kind of relate to that. So, in this particular match, these guys being incredibly good wrestlers, they throw each other around, do their thing. One kind of a botch spot at the beginning of the match, but they recovered fine. But in the end, Becky wins with a quick roll up pin. I was expecting more of a, you know, intense finisher, but anyway, she gets the win. She gets the championship, and then Charlotte, tries to shake her hand, and Becky says, screw you, and walks off. Um, I think I would have preferred, instead of a quick roll up for a pin, maybe get Charlotte to tap, or even better with the figure four. But I digress. I'm just a fan. But Becky Lynch winning was cool, and once again the crowd loved it. So it's gonna be interesting how to see how this goes in the next few weeks. So after that, we had for the Raw Tag Team Championship, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. And I called it before, and I was right. This was the match of the night. These guys pulled out all the stops. Um, in fact, it was very entertaining. And what was even funnier was Dean Ambrose actually threw out some wrestling moves there. Instead of just doing, a couple of clotheslines and a dirty deeds, he actually showed he could do some work. That was pretty interesting, pretty cool. But I have to say, these guys are phenomenal. Hate to take that away from AJ Styles, but these guys were awesome. Spots everywhere. I don't remember any botches. Good work. Near pinfalls everywhere. High spots, low spots, dives. And of course, in the end, we get an awesome Claymore to get the pin against Seth Rollins. But I have to say, excellent match. Excellent match. Definitely 4 stars, or if not 4.5 stars. But what do you expect from these guys? These guys pull off excellent matches all the time, so I wouldn't have expected anything less. So next, we have for the SmackDown Championship, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. And I've already stated before, I'm not a fan of this whole family, Wendy, I'll be your daddy, even though that was a funny line. This AJ Night Night storybook. I'd buy that, though. That was pretty cool. But, these two have gone against each other years and years. They've always put down excellent matches. So I would expect the same tonight. And they did. They did a decent job. Unfortunately, they were faced with being booked right after the championship match between Rollins and McIntyre and Ziggler and Ambrose. So the crowd was kind of emotionally spent. And, these guys doing what they do, it's kind of hard to get the crowd going again. But they did. They were into it. I was into it. But, like I said, I kind of wanted Samoa Joe to win this one here, but I have a feeling they're going to keep this going for a while. Maybe either into Australia or into the newly announced pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. Who knows? But in the end, AJ Styles wins, but in a weird fashion because Samoa Joe has AJ Styles in the coquina clutch, but AJ Styles able to roll him backwards onto his back and get the pin. But lo and behold, after the win was announced, we see on replays that as the referee was counting, that AJ Styles actually tapped. And Samoa Joe, knowing this, is like, hey, I should be the champion here. So that was an interesting twist. We'll see where this goes. But if I were to give it a rating, I'd give it 3 stars. Simply because the way AJ Styles tapped, it would have, I think, been better for the crowd to have seen it, at least camera-wise, instead of after replays. But seeing these guys wrestle again is not necessarily a bad thing. So, after those 2 matches, we're stuck with another tag team match between Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. What I call the reality show tag match. Because it's obvious Brie Bella and Maurice aren't going to wrestle very much. They're still dealing with severe ring rust. And the fact that Maurice never really was much of a wrestler. She can do a few things. So it's mostly Daniel Bryan versus The Miz in the ring, and they do their thing. Throw each other around, do their usual moves. While their particular wives interfere, every once in a while. And all of a sudden, Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella get the upper hand. They start doing their kicks, of course. Then everybody ends up outside. And I was really surprised that Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella didn't go for the suicide dive. Simply because I'm sure Brie Bella probably would have jacked it up again. So it's probably best they did not do that. But they go outside. And then as Brie and Maurice are going back in, Maurice rolls her up for the pin. She doesn't cheat. She doesn't use the ropes. She just simply gets the 3 count. Okay, it's over. So for the last 2 pay-per-views, Miz and Maurice have won in some way, shape, or form. So, of course, that just tells us this is going to continue until Daniel Bryan and Brie win in one of the upcoming pay-per-views. If I were to give it a rating, 1 star. Not a fan of these particular matches. Because like I said, Brie Bella and Maurice don't really wrestle. And Brie, both of them need to do a little bit more work. Send them to Orlando. Hell, have them work with Dana Brooke for a while. And the Iconics or something. They all could use a little bit more time in the ring. So, for the second to last match of that evening, we have for the Women's SmackDown Championship, Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss. And we pretty much knew where this was going, because they had set it up so obviously with the whole ribs issue. And Alexa was attacking the ribs. And then she tried to go for her own armbar, or her own version of it. Didn't work. Then, of course, Ronda Rousey hulks up and starts doing her thing. And then puts Alexa in her armbar and gets the submission. Now, I'm not going to say it was a bad match, but it was a very predictable match. So, just off the sake of predictability and the fact that Ronda still needs a little bit more work, I want to see her actually do some wrestling, some moves here. I'm going to give the match 2 stars. But I'm not going to dedicate any more time to this match because it was basically a bathroom break for everybody. So here we are, final match of the night. The piece de resistance, whatever that means. I just hear it a lot. We have a Hell in a Cell match between Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, with a special guest referee, Mick Foley. Wow. So, it's a Hell in a Cell match, so obviously these two are going to spend the next 15-20 minutes beating the hell out of each other, which was expected. And they do it, and they do it well. We see, chair shots, stair shots, kendo pole sticks breaking. We see everything. And of course, nobody can get a pin. As soon as they try to get a pin, doesn't work. So we go through this agonizing match for quite a while. Then finally, these guys have beaten each other so badly that no one can get up. They're laid out. So who decides to show up? Brock Lesnar. That's right. Our good friend. Brocky Brock. With Paul Heyman. So, Paul Heyman decides to mace Mick Foley. Because, Mick Foley was going to do something to stop Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar showing, to be the massive beast / Superman / inhuman person he is, kicks the gate in. So whatever padlock they were using to close the gate, I don't want to buy that particular brand. Because apparently a 280-pound man can just kick it and bust it through. So he comes in after kicking down the gate and proceeds to beat the holy hell out of both Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, using chairs, tables, whatever he could get his hands on. So after we saw these guys beat the hell out of each other for 20 minutes, we see another guy come in and beat the hell out of them for another 10. And then, after he comes in and beats the holy hell out of him, the ref comes in, other ref, and that's probably the same ref from the Jeff Hardy match. I'm not exactly sure. And just says, hey, this match is over. We're done. And WWE, being the incredibly good people they are, ends the pay-per-view right then and there. We're done, folks. Good night. Now, I don't want to complain about bad endings, but that was about as bad of an ending as I've ever seen it. You have these guys, like I said, beat the holy crap out of each other for 20 minutes. And then you have another guy come in and beat the holy crap out of him And then you go, okay, that's it. Show's over. Now, I haven't been to a pay-per-view in a while, but the last pay-per-view I went to outside of WrestleMania, it cost quite a bit. I think $50 a person, the cheapest. And that's for the people, sitting up in the really cheap seats. So I can only imagine the people up front paid, a lot more. I can only imagine their thoughts when they paid to see this and to have a non-finish. That's a load of crap. I don't know. It's bad enough to give a bad product to your pay-per-view audience, but I think it's even worse to give a bad show to your live audience. These are the folks that spend money to come in, and they have to leave early, and stay 3 or 4 hours, and then go home. You got to give these people something. Anyway, we have another pay-per-view coming up in Australia. Hopefully, it's not as bad as this one. Please don't give those people down there a bad show. But ultimately, I want to know your thoughts on Hell in a Cell. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Oh, and if I were to give a rating to the last match, it was half a star. We deserve better than that. Give us something. But like I said, what are your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think it was crap? Let me know. Post it in the comments below. I like talking to you guys. Anyway, I'm out of here. Until next time. Peace.